The NeXT System Builder application is a tool used to check the loop loading and the battery capacity of a site design prior to installation. On the front screen are three options: Create, Open and Settings. Settings is used to set the default options each new configuration will use, allowing you to select the sales channel brand you will use, the alarm and standby times to be used in the calculations. The default panel to use, selecting the type first and then the variant within that range. The series option selects either existing ZP2 panels or the ZP2A high power option panels. Along with the additional expansion cards you may use commonly as default. The loop properties sets the default loop values to be used for each design. Cable spec, loop length, device distribution, and basic or advanced calculation. There is an option to open a previous site's file. Select Open Site and double-click the project you want to open. To begin a new project, choose Create Site. The initial screen allows you to configure some project details: name, number, and a description. Configure the sales channel brand being used, as well as the alarm and standby times required. You may add in any contact details associated with the project, and a summary of who and when the calculations were done. To begin a loop load calculation, simply add a panel using the icon at the top of the screen. This will add the default panel as previously selected. You can then change this as required to match the panel you are using on site. The power supply option will show you the PSU the panel selected uses. This section will also indicate the suggested battery required. The same options to add expansion cards can also be set. At the bottom of the screen are the currents calculated from the data that has been input, with a green indication for OK and a red indication if exceeded. With the correct panel setup, you can now move on to the loop itself. There is an option to configure the loop specifications, setting the length and size of the cable. The distribution option allows you to set if the calculation is based on all the devices in one location, or spread across the loop equally. The easiest option to add devices to the loop is to use the basic calculation method. Make sure that the basic calculation option is selected under the loop properties. Then select Add Devices. This will pop up a selection screen from which you simply select all the devices and quantities you have fitted onto the loop. Ensure for your outputs that you select the correct power option, which in most cases will be loop powered. You can also add in the detector bases and sounder first fix plates. The VAD devices also list the high and low power options along with the different flash rates. Once you have added all of your loop devices, the total currents are shown at the bottom of the screen. Once again, a green icon for OK and red for failed. There are three common errors you may see when checking the loadings of your panel. If you overload the loop, drawing too much current, or if you have a high volt drop, you will see an error pop up. To clear these faults, you will need to reduce the loading upon the loop. The other common error is if you try to add more than 127 addresses onto the loop, you will also get an error pop-up. The other option for configuring your loop is to use the advanced calculation. To use the advanced option, ensure the advanced calculation option is selected. Using the advanced calculation, you can then add in each device and configure the distance between each point on the loop. Ensure that any outputs are selected with the correct power option, loop or external. You will require very detailed site drawings to use the advanced option. The loop totals are shown at the bottom of the screen. These, as before, will show green for OK and red for failed. The last option is to add any mainboard outputs being used. These are the sounder circuits, fire or fault outputs, and 24 volts auxiliary supply. A possible error you might see when inputting the quiescent and alarm loadings is an error stating the battery capacity has been exceeded. This error is telling us that the batteries required for the backup configured are too big to fit into the panel. If you open the power supply section, you will see this error repeated. You will need to adjust the loading on the panel outputs, reducing sounders or connected equipment. If the loadings cannot be adjusted, then one solution is to change the panel to the larger power supply variant, and then select that a larger battery box will be used. The error is then overcome. The final few options are located in the top right of the screen. An option to remove the panel from the project completely. An option to save the project periodically as you design your system. An option to save as, which allows you to save the project under another name. And finally, a report that can be run showing all the data contained within the project.